Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. I'm your host, Tina Dawson, the owner of True Blue Designs, and it's truly an honor to be before you this evening. Please like and share and let everyone know that we are on the air. We are streaming simultaneously on our Facebook page and on YouTube at True Blue Designs, right there. I would like to also thank everyone for tuning in during the month of May, celebrating our 13-year anniversary. We had a list of comedians that showed up every week, and I just want to say thank you to all of them, and thank you to Christopher Columbus with the Greek Comedy Tour for lining those up for us. Also, I was going to tell you that on our YouTube channel, make sure that you press the notification bell so that you can be alerted when new content becomes available. Now I'm going to introduce tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is joining us to discuss her process of writing her debut book, Journaling Through the Journey. The book is a compilation of writings accumulated over the years that invites readers to consider many life topics from a different perspective. Please help me give a warm welcome to tonight's guest, Miss Jennifer Wilson. Hello, Miss Lady. Say it again. I had you.
How are you? Thank you so much for having me, Tina.
Oh, thank you for saying yes. I should have appreciated. I'm excited about your book. I can't wait to talk to you about that. But first, before we get into the interview, we've got to say tonight's guest has some giveaways. So make sure that you are commenting and you are engaged in tonight's show. Because at the end of the show, she is going to pick two people to receive a copy of her debut book, Journaling the Journey. I'm so excited. You see, I told you, wait, I'm going to get the right one. Where's my book at? Here it is. Yeah, because I told you I've been penciling and highlighting. And so I am just excited to introduce you and this book to the readers, to the viewers.
Awesome.
The viewers who are going to be readers. How about that?
Amen.
Amen. Well, we're going to start off first by allowing you to introduce yourself to the viewers and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay, wonderful. My name is Jennifer Wilson. I was originally born in Chicago, Illinois, and I spent the first 12 years there out in the suburbs of Robbins, Illinois. And my family relocated to Mississippi when I was 12. And so I spent 5 years in the serious country, coming from suburban Illinois to dirt roads, Route 2 Box 319. That was our address.
Wow.
So it was me and two of my sisters and my brother, and then I have a half brother. And my all of us are here in Atlanta except for my half brother. He's in Texas. My husband and I, my late husband and I, have 4 children, and they're young adults, ranging between the age of 27 and 22. And I'm so excited. Shout out to all my kids for being college graduates because our youngest is graduating May 20th.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we will have a college graduate. Yes.
Congratulations. Make sure you send me something else so I can bless the baby.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
My mom lives here with us. We're so glad to have her in the ATL. We take care of her, my siblings and I, and we're just really excited to have her here with us so that we can care for her.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a blessing. We're going to talk about mama because there's some information about mama in the book. So we're going to make sure we talk about mama.
Okay.
Yeah. So after Mississippi, you moved to Atlanta. So how long have you been here in Atlanta?
I've been in Atlanta for 33 years.
Okay.
So Atlanta is home. I met my husband in Austin, Texas. That's where I was. And then when we got married, then we moved here, and that's where we've been ever since.
Okay. And I know there's a little bit in the book, and we're going to talk about it, that you have a background in education. So let's talk a little bit about that.
My background in education really came in between educating the children and
Mhm.
helping them to progress through primary, elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. I am an accountant by profession.
Okay.
And so I was working for Georgia Tech at the time, and then I came home after I had child number two and to
Mhm.
be a stay at home mom. And then I just kind of dived into the educational field, became a substitute teacher, started working in different areas to try to find summer programs, creating lists to share with other people, especially families of color, because a
Mhm.
lot of times we don't get those opportunities. We don't hear about those opportunities. So, I started finding out about different things like a better chance, about what they call that the posse program, about just different ways to be able to get your kids involved with the private schools because Atlanta has 88 private schools here in the area. So it's like huge, but a lot of times we let the price tag keep us away, but they have scholarships. So just like we encourage our children to apply for scholarships when they go to college, parents need to understand that there are different programs out there as well that they can apply to so that their children can get ahead. And it's not always getting tutoring for because your child is behind.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's getting that tutoring to help propel them ahead a little bit further.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And you said at one time you were a stay at home mom. You were stay at home with the kids.
Yes.
I had a an opportunity to do that when I was married,
Okay.
and I am so thankful that I was able to be there. And just talk a little bit about um, your experience, being able to be there for your kids, to put them on the bus, to get them off, to really nurture them through the day.
Yes.
And I know that some parents, majority of parents are not able to, because you have some single parents that are working two jobs and
Mhm.
they're not able to. But even with that, I think we have to make sure that we carve out time to make sure that we are involved in our kids' education.
Yes,
You know.
absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely comes with a different kind of price tag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was fortunate enough to be able to be at home with them. My youngest daughter, she didn't know a mom that had worked until she went to high school, which was a different kind of adjustment for her to not to have me available. But we had a cluster of friends that was doing the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so we all got together. We would drop our kids off in the morning. We would have brunch sometimes. We encouraged each other. We helped each other understand the importance and the opportunities that we were actually utilizing. Because sometimes stay-at-home moms get a bad rep.
Mm-hmm.
People think that you're just sitting at home eating bonbons and not doing anything, but there's a whole schedule that
Yeah.
you have to have so that you can make best use of your time. And everything from bargain shopping, because of course when you come home like that, then you're down to one income with multiple
Mm-hmm.
people still on that one paycheck. So it was a lot of work, but we were able to do it. I mean, I became like the calendar queen because at one point, the children were like in 4 different schools and 3 different school systems.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to color coordinate everything to make sure that everybody got to where they needed to be on time and picked up. And, that was a job. I used to write myself a note and go like, this is how much this costs. This is how much, okay, this is how much money I'm bringing to the table because I'm
Right.
doing that thing. Yeah.
Right. You put a value on your time.
Absolutely. 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 If you can pay a babysitter,
Yeah.
why can't you be considered having a job, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm
that's
with
right.
you. Look, I'm with you 110%.
That's right.
Yeah. And then I think also I got to see the importance of you know, um, the PTA or PTO, whichever the school had, and then
Yes.
or I think a PTA or PTSA, I think it's called. Now I said
Right.
PTO, that's paid time off, but
Okay. We need that too.
you know the importance of that organization, and then the importance of partnering with your child's teacher too.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
very important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To be there and to be available and to make sure that they're coming to school and coming to school prepared to learn and to do what needs to be done. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then like you said, it takes a village.
Yes.
It takes a village, and you all had you know, some other people have formed a village within yourself to be
Yes.
able to support each other. So
Yes.
that's so important.
Absolutely.
Now, one other thing I know about you is you're an advocate for that area of yours. Well, I remember about the landmine.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, don't mess with Jennifer.
Yes. Yes. We are still in that fight right now. I understand why it takes a long time to fight because stuff gets held up in court and we're still fighting that battle. So still, please keep us in your prayers because we do not want that business to stay there.
Yeah,
It's too close to the residential area.
yeah, the viewers don't know what we're talking about. So just tell them a little bit about it and how you got involved in that.
Yes, there is a company called Metro Green, and it is a cement crushing business, and they sort out different particles and things like that. And this particular building is literally 500 feet away from our subdivision and several other subdivisions. It had been a piece of land that had been just had trees on it for years and years and years. And when the city of Stonecrest came along, that was piece of their land. So
Okay.
I live in unincorporated DeKalb, which is across the street, that 500 feet right across the street. And so I can't really vote. I can't really vote. I can't vote in the city of Stonecrest, but what they do directly affects me. So I've met a group of ladies, and we have been pulling our resources together, coming together, and fighting that fight to try to keep Metro Green from doing their business there because it's just so close. We have students that walk to school, and we don't want them to inhale those particles and things like that. And we also know that people of color have a higher rate of asthma, and all those kinds of things. And we want to breathe clean air, just like our Buckhead neighbors want to breathe clean air. We don't want our homes getting cracks in its foundation because they're crushing cement.
Right.
So that's the fight that we're fighting.
Okay. And how did you all find out about it? How did you find out that it was coming?
COVID. COVID
Really?
has its advantages and disadvantages. But being at home and we saw the trees clear because before, you leave before it gets light. You don't get home until it's dark. So you don't really see what's going on. And so when we saw something, we started combing the internet, trying to find out what it was. We were looking in DeKalb County because we didn't know that that was considered Stonecrest. And
Okay.
my husband was the one that actually found out what that business was. And then we started contacting our
Okay.
state representatives. We started reaching out to finding out what was going on. And it just took off from there.
That took off from there. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, keep us abreast of what's going on with that. And I would definitely keep you in my prayers. The one
Absolutely.
thing I know about you is, boy, when you lock on, you're not letting go till you get what you want.
It's a blessing and a curse.
But it's for a good cause.
Yes,
You know, it's for a good cause. And a lot of times people just don't know what's going on around.
exactly.
You know, we're so
Exactly.
busy sometimes we don't even inquire
That's
about
right.
what's going on. Yeah.
That's
So
right.
I just wanted to mention that because I think it's important. I had someone on the show before about I think it was the show about community involvement. And
Okay.
that's what he was talking about. He works for a planning and zoning um, um, department, but
Okay.
in a different city. And he
Okay.
was saying
Okay.
that it was important for the residents to stay involved and know what's going on in your local area, because you should
Amen.
have a voice in it. And when you don't
Yes.
show up, if you don't inquire, things just go on and they think that the residents think it's okay
Okay.
because nobody
That's
said
right.
anything. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's a show that I'm gonna suggest people watch too because it was really informative.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes. So we're gonna talk about your debut book.
Okay.
What inspired you to write journaling the journey?
Um, I do a lot of speaking. I do a lot of encouraging to different people, different small groups, my friends. And people have said for years, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. You need to write a book. And I'll go like, yeah, okay, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do that. And then it came to, oh, you need to write a book. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to write a book. Can I get some help in how to write a book? And finally, one day, a good friend of mine, Robin May, was saying, now I've told you, Jennifer, you need to write a book. And I was like, now I've told you that I need some help. So you send me some help and I can make that happen. And she did. She introduced me to AJ Joyner, who has a publishing company of his own, and
Mhm.
he helped young artists, newbies, I guess, newcomers, get started. And I reached out to him, and we had a conversation. And he pulled things together, and he said that I had something worth sharing, and that he was willing to help me get that in print. And that's how the journey began. And it also started with COVID, and that's when I started pulling these different things together. I told him what I had done, and he's the one that came up with that concept about having a compilation of writings. And I was like, okay, I think I can do that. So let me start pulling. I went to my WordPress. I went back into my emails because I keep everything, and start pulling them all together. And then we grouped them all together, and there we have it, journaling the journey.
Oh
And
wow.
it's just amazing. I have a really good friend, Andre Hickman, who is the graphic artist, and he listened to what it was that I said that I wanted for the cover, and he pulled my vision together, and I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's I do. I love it. When I said this is Jennifer. This right here, I said yes. This is Jennifer with one eye and kind of sassy.
He did an amazing job.
He did. He did. Your entire team did an amazing job. So kudos to them. Kudos
Thank
to
you.
them. So when you first started writing, how many hours a day did you write?
It really depends, because a lot of the different writings have happened over years. I've been in Georgia for over 30 years, and it literally for over 30 years worth of different writings.
Okay.
One of the ones that I wrote that was more recent was Y'all Get on My Nerve. That
Mhm.
was a direct correlation to George Floyd
Okay.
and the protest that was going on in Atlanta. And I was sitting in my backyard, and after battling with my kids because they wanted to go down there and protest, and me going like, no, it's COVID and it's
Mhm.
going to get out of hand. I know this, that, and the other. And I was sitting in the backyard and wrote that while I was sitting back there.
Okay. And this
So yeah.
it was y'all get on my nerves. Let's
Yes.
see what
Yes.
chat that one is. I'm gonna have to find out.
Yeah, that one is page 135. It's in section 4, 135.
I see it.
Yes,
I'll
yes,
make sure I get to that one tonight.
yes, yes, yes,
So okay, so that's why you were saying there's a compilation of writings because
yes.
okay, because I remember I saw this video on writing, and this young lady was asking how to get started, and the person that was the instructor asked her, said, do you journal? And the person said yes. And she
Okay.
said, how long have you been journaling? And she said, a certain amount of years. And she said,
Mhm.
your first your first homework is to get all those journals together and start going through.
Yes.
Yeah, and
'Cause there's a story there.
it's a story. And then she
Yeah.
said, because once you start reading back through the journals, then I can help. The person was saying, I can help you pull everything together
Okay.
for your book, and you will be amazed that you may have more than one book out of it. And one of the ladies I think that I saw, I think she had like four out of
Uh-huh.
it. Yeah. Yeah. She did one and then they pulled it together and she did three others.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, yeah. We all have a story, Jennifer.
Yes.
We all have
Yes.
a story to tell.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you were writing, does writing energize you or is it, does it exhaust you? Because some people, they say when I ask that question, they say it's exhausting.
These particular writings that I wrote, they definitely filled a part of me. I wasn't on a timeline. I don't think that I'm the typical writer where I'm setting aside like 3 hours a day, every day for the next 6 months so that I can get this done. I'm inspired by situations, I'm inspired by things that I've gone through. One of the articles that's in the book is talking about my experience with mammogram and the struggle with that in being short and how some people just pull and tug and how painful it is and how I just endured that pain and didn't say anything.
Mm,
And I need to start saying something. I need to advocate for myself. I can be an advocate
right,
for others, but I also need to advocate for myself and not allow myself to be hurt like that. I mean, I shouldn't have to come home and curl up in a ball and rock myself to sleep after a mammogram,
right.
you
Wow,
know? So
wow.
that means that something wasn't right. And I know that my body frame is such that it's not the normal average size because they have the machines set up
Mhm.
for a certain style, a certain height, and a certain build. And I don't fit that. So I have to say something so that people can back up, adjust the machine to my height, my body build, so that I'm not in that kind of pain, you know.
Wow, yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
So I write and it energizes me. It helps, it soothes my soul. It helps me to be able to get it up and out when I write.
And how many times do we do that, Jennifer? Now that example was, you going through the process of a mammogram, but how
Mhm.
many times do we on a daily basis or weekly basis allow things to happen to us and we don't say anything?
Way too much.
And
Yeah.
I call it slowly but surely just getting a piece of your power back, taking that
Mhm.
power back to, like you said, to be able to speak up for yourself and
Yes.
not let you go home with the pain. Because one thing I do notice is that when you don't say anything, people think it's okay and you're okay,
Mhm.
right? And,
Exactly.
and if I would have said something, people would have changed their actions or behavior
Mhm.
because I said something.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or they would have had to get somebody else to come in if they couldn't get it
right.
done. Yeah.
And I think
So,
you would have gladly done it. You know.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. So see, that's a lesson right there.
Yes.
That's a lesson.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this, because some people, there's various ways to publish a book, right? And you can self-publish or you can go to a publishing company and get help.
Okay.
So talk a little bit about why you chose to go the route that you did by allowing this gentleman to help you.
Because I did know what I was doing. I am not in the literary world or field. If it was maybe something with accounting, I would have felt more comfortable because that is my profession. I am proficient in that. So I
Yeah,
wanted to be with someone that knew what they were doing and that could instruct me. So I believe that if you bumped your head and you've learned from it and you're willing to share with me, I'll have to bump my head.
right.
So that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I wanted to gain from the person to help me to put the book together. I needed for somebody to say, okay, well, Jennifer, that's too much or that's enough. We have enough. Let's do this. Let's move that around. I wanted those suggestions. I wanted someone to be able to, help me take it from here and come up with it for here. So
Right.
that's why I chose him, and even to deciding where to publish it. I followed his lead, and at the time he was using Amazon, and at the same time he's building his own publishing company. So I think that even with that, if somebody came behind me to work with him, they might not even have to go through Amazon. They may be able to utilize whatever avenue or vehicle that he has set up for his own publishing company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long did it take approximately from start to finish to complete the book?
It took probably a year and a half.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but that's only because I already had the material written.
Right. Yeah. That I
Yeah.
understood. Yeah.
So for somebody who's just starting to write and put it together, it
Mhm.
may take longer than that, but a year and a half. So and a lot of that was probably even on me, for me having to gather the information, reread, rewrite, because a lot of the way I write is the way I talk,
Right.
and so but I had to go through and make sure that it was at least grammatically decent, so
Mhm.
that people can kind of feel and get gleaning into my spirit. And those people who knew me and know me, they probably could hear my voice when they were reading,
Mhm.
they're like, yep, that sounds just like her. Yep. Yep, that's her. Whereas someone who's reading it for the first time, I didn't want to lose them in the transition of me just writing. I needed for some other eyes. I needed editors to edit it and
Right.
to come back and go like, okay, that doesn't flow. What are you trying to say there? So those spent a lot of time doing those kinds of things.
Okay. Okay. It's
Yeah.
around a year and a half. That, but still, even though you had the writings, I still think that's a pretty good time frame to finish a book. Just from
Okay.
interviewing other authors.
Okay. Okay. Yes. All right.
Mhm.
Awesome.
So, what ways do you market your book? What things have you done to market your book?
I haven't done anything.
Well, you got it on
Yeah,
Amazon.
I put it on Amazon, and then I did a post on it. And I'm not really good at this. I'm not a very good entrepreneur. Okay, let me just put that out there. I'm not. I do herbs, I do all kinds of things, and I end up just giving them away instead of selling them. So I'm just not really good at that. So I put on Facebook, hey guys, I did a thing. I wrote a book. Here it
Mm,
is. Go out and get it. That was it.
okay.
That's
So,
it.
if people want to buy the book, they can
Yeah.
actually buy it on Amazon.
Yes.
Okay. And then are you say if someone wants you to speak at an engagement, are you open to speaking engagements and
Yes.
book signings?
I am, especially as the world opens up.
Hmm.
I would love to be able to do those kinds of things. I would love to do book signings. I would love to have discussions about different parts of the book, because I want to know how people feel about it, how it inspired them, how it made them think, how it made them go like, yeah, nah, not really. I want to hear about all those kinds of things. And also in the book, there are blank pages,
Yes.
so that you can actually journal inside the book.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go like, oh, I need to, oh, wait a minute, that gave me that thought. You can just turn to the blank page and you can write. So it's supposed to be used in at least two different ways: for you to read, be inspired, and for you to write down your own notes for your own journey. Because somewhere down the line, I started saying, my journey is not necessarily yours, and it kind of
Yeah.
stuck with me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I say all the time, because we're not going to agree on everything,
Right.
but there are some things that could be a part of my journey that I can help you out with, so
Hmm.
that again, you don't have to bump your head, since I've already bumped mine.
Right. And the book is from your perspective, right?
Yes,
So,
yes,
right. So,
yes,
people may look at it a little bit differently, but the purpose of the book is to give someone a different perspective, a different way to look at things that they may be going through, similar than what you've gone through, right? Or
exactly.
similar to what you've gone through.
Exactly. And leading up to it, those people that have small children, if you read it here, I talk about the different kind of parents and the different
Mhm.
phases of that mom. because I'm a mom. I was mom of four, and everybody was different, and everybody was on a different journey, and trying to be that mom for that particular person, it's not for the faint at heart.
Right.
It requires a lot of attention. It requires a lot of focus. It requires a lot of work, because those personalities, those young people, those little people have different personalities, and they're grabbing stuff from everywhere. You see some of yourself, you see some of your husband, you see some of your siblings, and sometimes you love them, and sometimes you want to just go like, "Oh, sweet baby Jesus, I don't know what I'm gonna do." But in that, it's just like at one point I had like a high school, a middle school, and an elementary student, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't juggle. This is a lot. This is a lot, So and the saying where they say, Mama didn't tell me about days like these. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be able to tell you about days like these, so that you know that you weren't crazy, so that you know that you're not alone, so that you
Right.
know that yes, you too can get through this, and it's going to be okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you this, because after this we're going to go into the book, because I've got my questions ready.
Okay, okay.
So what advice would you give to those that are desiring to become a writer? What advice, through your experience, what advice would you give those coming after you that inspires to be a writer?
I would say, even if you didn't know what to do, to start writing and keeping it somewhere, email it to yourself so that you can have it. Um, when you get tired, stop, pause,
Mm,
take a break, get some rest, refocus, recenter, and then get back up and write again. Be open to constructive criticism. Be open to people saying that they'll be there to help you, but then their life gets busy and they can't. It's okay.
right,
So take a pause and get back on that, and just keep trying until it happens. Never give up. Never
right,
give up. Just keep trying, keep writing, keep doing it. I would love for my books to be in the libraries. I would love for my books to be on Oprah's best reading list, on the Today Show reading list. I would love for it to be out there. At the same time, it's just like, what am I willing to do to put it out there?
right.
Um, how am I going to get the grind to get it? And I'm an older woman, so my grind is going to be different from a 20-year-old grind. Um, and
What you
uh,
said, it takes a village. So you
yes,
do not have to do this by yourself.
yes, absolutely.
You're on this show to get the word
Yes.
out. We're going to make sure that you get on some more shows. Make sure that you have, some Zoom where, we can get together everyone that has read the book, or people who are wanting to read the book, and just
Hmm.
have a book discussion. I was going to say a book club, but just a book discussion. I've
That would
done
be
that with
awesome.
another author, and it was
Okay.
great. We had a good
Oh,
time.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be awesome. That would
Hmm.
definitely be awesome, because I would love to hear what perspective people have as a
Right.
result of reading something in there. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm here, and you
Okay.
have a lot of viewers on tonight's show. So
Okay.
you have a lot of help, and you have a huge village. Your family is on here, and your
Awesome.
family and your friends. You have a lot of people that are watching tonight. And like I
Good.
said, the people who don't watch tonight will watch tomorrow, or Saturday or sometime. So you
Okay.
have a
Awesome.
village. So, hey, just lean on us.
Okay.
Just lean
All
on us.
right. All
All
right.
right. Now we're going to talk about different things in the book. Now, before we do that, we're going
Okay.
to tell everybody again, make sure that you comment and you stay engaged with the show, because tonight's guest is going to give away two books at the end of the show. But
Yes.
the key is you have to be engaged in the show. We need for you to comment, give her an amen, give her a what's up, congratulations. We need for you to be engaged so that you
Yes.
can be put in a raffle to win tonight's a copy of tonight's book. So come on, we got to keep these comments coming. Okay,
Yes. All
now
right.
on page 43,
Okay.
um, the title of the section is called "A Safe Place," and this part really touched me,
Okay.
and I think that you did this what we're going to talk about with your kids as they were growing up. But I think this is something that no matter how old your kids are, I think that you could kind of tweak it a little to still get the same results from it, right?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
this was really good. All right,
Okay.
so we're going to talk about a safe place. I'm going to read a passage of your book, and then
Okay.
I'm going to allow you to expound on it.
Okay.
Okay, and this is talking about um, being able to really communicate with your children. If
Okay.
I said something that offended, hurt, or confused them, talking about your children, to write it in that book and place it on my bed or somewhere I could find it. And you said, you did this because this was an opportunity for me to change history. And we're talking about the books that you gave your children for them
Mm-hmm.
to write how they were feeling, place
Yes.
it in a place that you could see it and that you
Mm-hmm.
could read it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was so unique, um, but so brilliant, because a lot of times our children don't know how to come to us with things because they don't want to hurt us. I've heard that a lot. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to hurt you, but they stayed hurt keeping it in. And
Mm-hmm.
your book idea gave them a way to get it out of here onto paper, and then you were able to read it. And it seemed like everything was happening in a non-threatening environment for them to be able to communicate with you. So
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit about the safe place. This is really
Yes.
good. I hope everybody tune into this.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
this is awesome.
That was very intentional. I don't know how much they really believed me when I said, this is going to be a safe place, and this is just going to be between me and you. I don't know how much they really, really believe it, but I had one child that actually started the wheels in motion. And when I
Mm,
saw it on my bed, the booklet on my bed, I was like, oh my God, this is great. I'm thinking, okay, it's just going to be so cool. But then, when you open it up and you read it and you see it, you're like, oh my God.
mm. So let me go back a little bit. So you gave all of your children a composition book or some type of
Yes,
book for them to write their thoughts in, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And so this was an opportunity for them to tell me what I had done or what had happened or any situation that we can discuss.
Mm.
So that was my whole
Powerful.
process with putting it out there. Now, of course, I did not know that the things that was going to say was going to be like, oh my God, what is okay? All right. And now then the responsibility became, how do I respond to this?
Right.
Because now I've created this space. So now I need to try to hear what they're saying. So that was where that came from, and that was what that was about. And I've often tried to talk to them on a regular basis, just about anything. But even with my excitement in my voice, because my voice starts to elevate when I
Mm.
get real serious and when I get real excited and when I want to drive a point home.
Yeah,
And everybody can't handle that.
that's true. Yeah.
It causes some people to shut down.
Hmm.
And I'm still learning how to listen and how to hold my tongue while they're expressing to me their frustration about me, about somebody else, about a situation, trying to interpret or figure out, am I supposed to say something? Is it
Right.
like, it's like go like double dutch, you're trying to
Yes.
jump in, knowing when to jump in and when to jump out. And it is, and everybody's different. And
Hmm.
so, but that journal was the start of us having a conversation. I would like to think, now you would have to ask my children, that we have a relationship now where we can actually have some intense
Right.
conversations. Because I also, and they had to learn me too,
Hmm.
because I'm so much better in the AM than I am in the PM.
Okay.
And they're PM kinds of people, them and their dad. They're evening people.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay. I'm an early morning person. I can be a little bit more gentle in the morning. By 9:30, I'm like, get to the point, say what you need to say and come. So, and it doesn't fare very well. So, I had to learn it's a give and a take.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to compromise. So our conversations should probably happen like around noon.
Right. But that was a good lesson to teach them, right? Is
Yes.
that you have two parents, both parents are different,
Yes.
right? And when you are building relationships with people, you have to intentionally learn other people, right?
Yes.
You have to make the effort to learn other people. I took a class called effective communication.
Okay.
And this, I'm gonna share this right quick with you because
Okay.
this was my turning point. So in the class, she taught us how to be better listeners.
Okay.
And so she gave us some. Now this was supposed to be for your job, but I said I'm gonna use this stuff that I'm learning on my kids. So
Amen.
she had told me, she said, go home and try that when they want to talk to you, don't say anything. Just listen. And for a parent, that is hard with your kids, especially if you think you know the right answer.
Yes.
But it worked, Jennifer, because I made sure it was my son who wanted to dump him. And Mama, guess what happened? And I made sure that I didn't say anything. He kept saying, "You're not gonna say anything?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just listening." And then he kept on and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm just listening." And I took that technique,
Mm-hmm.
and it really helped our relationship, and our relationship grew from that,
Awesome.
right? And but
Yes.
you got to learn how to be a good listener, and that journal allowed you to really listen to them
Mm-hmm.
and really hear their heart, right? And
Yes.
then you learn your kids through that what they're going through, because I'm a believer. If they don't talk to you, they're talking to somebody,
Oh, absolutely.
right? And so
Yes.
you want to have the relationship where they can talk to you.
Amen.
Yeah, I just thought that was a great idea.
Yes.
I'm never gonna forget that. Sometimes we may need to do that in our chapters, but we won't do that alone.
Behave.
Every chapter member have a book and write down what I did. I'm serious. It will work. I'm telling you. Okay, we won't get in trouble about that.
Don't get
Uh,
into it.
uh, Okay, so talking about that, on page 44, you said I needed to ensure that I indeed established a safe place where pain could be addressed and healing could take place.
Mm-hmm.
That is powerful. And that was the purpose of the journaling book. I love that.
Yes. Because we all miss it. We all come to the table with our interpretation of what we grew up with. It's just like going to church and the minister is preaching across the bookboard, and more than half of the people are sitting there going like, "Man, how did the man or woman of God know that?" And
Yeah.
it's because it's just like everything comes from a different perspective. You're looking at it through a different lens, and and when our children are small, we try to protect them. And as they grow up, they do take on our spirit. I have several children of mine that
Mm-hmm.
are just like their mama. And so, when they get to a point to where, they're talking in discussion, iron does sharpen iron, and it can be a lot of clashing going on. But I'm a believer that once we walk away from that table, that we still need to love each other and we still need to move forward and we need to give each other patience and time for each other. I don't have all the answers, and my children taught me that. Um, but if we come together and we have a discussion, there can be some healing going forward in everything. And if we get better and if we're healed, then the family is healed, and the relationship gets better, and we just, it just continues to spread out. And
Right.
that's what we want. And we all got something, because I get on my own nerves sometimes. So, it happens. You
Amen.
know, it happens.
Look, that's freedom when you can admit that too, Jennifer.
Absolutely.
You talking about you getting sick
Absolutely.
and tired of being sick and tired of people. No, you sometimes you get sick and tired of being sick and tired of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So,
We spent
we're
a lot
all
of time with
people.
ourselves during COVID.
Yes, young people, know that your parents are human too, right? They're
Yeah,
human. They're human, and that means we're going to make mistakes.
yeah,
So, yeah.
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 Let's talk about your mom. You mentioned that your mom was currently living with you and your siblings are taking care of your mother.
Yes.
In the book, um, under page 46, Big Mama, you
Yes.
talked about how you really appreciate the sacrifices that she did for you and your siblings growing up. And really not until you get your own family and you start really, you see her in her state now, and then you start really reflecting on your life, and you really see the sacrifices and really appreciate, that she has done for the family.
Yes.
There's a part in the book on page 48. You said, the lessons I learned from mama gave me life as soon as I stopped trying to avoid them.
Mm.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes, girl, because I thought I knew way more than Big Mom, and I thought I had a game plan. She didn't go to college. I went to college, but
Yeah.
what? I went to college. I've been some places, So, when it was all about me, I didn't know that it was about me. And once I started my family, I was like, that lady got a point.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can see where she made her decisions and where she went
Mm,
right and left, and where she should have stayed straight. And it's just I grew to have an admiration for her that
yes.
was like amazing. The sacrifices that she made. My mother worked production work,
Mm,
and she was good at whatever it was because she was a hard worker.
mm-hmm.
And when she would make production, they would raise the production. So when she was trying to get a little bit more extra money so that we can have $5 to go on a field trip, they would raise it, but she would dig deep, and
Mm,
she would still do it. She would still meet the quota and still make it happen. And she went without
yeah.
so that we could have. I mean, we weren't rich. She did the best she can. She's like, if you want to go to college, I'm going to make sure that you have that opportunity to go, even though she did have the
Right.
opportunity to go to college, And when I started to embrace those lessons, things started to flourish. You never would have sold me. I was only in Mississippi for 5 years. Okay, 5 years.
Mm,
I never would have believed that I would have a garden. I absolutely hated gardening
really?
in the country. I hated it. It was so hard. It was so much work. We had to get up. We had cucumbers. We had to pick those cucumbers every other day. And not only did we have to pick ours, my grandparents lived down the road. We had to pick theirs. You were working all the time. I tell people, my education
Mm-hmm.
afforded me an opportunity to work with my brain
Right.
instead of my hands, and be physical. And I'm so appreciative of that. So
Mm,
even with doing the gardening now, I do it because that's what I want to. I don't do
right.
it for a sense of necessity, because we used to go to town
Right.
and sell the goods that we had harvested. So, I'm a city slicker girl. I had to race home to beat the street light, to come into the house, to move to Mississippi and to have to do all that work.
Yeah.
That was a lot. But that's when I saw how amazing my mother was. That was the
Right.
beginning of me seeing, because I didn't know she had those skill sets. I didn't
Wow.
know she knew how to do all the things that she was doing. She's just an amazing woman.
And
Just an amazing
she's
woman.
strong.
Yeah,
Think about it. She didn't have any of the resources that we have today,
no,
but still she kept food on the table. She kept a roof over the head. And they sometimes they make it look easy.
they
When we're younger kids, we don't know any better. But then when we get older, we're like, I don't know how she did it.
exactly. I remember one time my father was in an accident and he cut his foot. And my mom was pregnant with my youngest brother, and things were just really, really, really tight. And she said, "Okay, I'm gonna be right back." And she went out in the woods, and I was like, "Where's she going?" And she came back, and she had these greens. They're called poke salad. They grow wild.
I saw that in the book, and I didn't know what that was.
It grows wild. That woman came home. She blanched them. Now they're poisonous too. You got to be able to do them right.
Uh
And
huh.
she fixed those. That was the best greens that I had ever eaten. They were so good. I was like, "Ooh, that woman is the bomb. She know what she doing." But it's because I did not realize, or I did not connect the dots of how she grew up. She grew up in the country. That was
Yeah.
her life, and she moved to the city and then came back home.
Right.
So, those skill sets came into play, and I learned so much from watching her.
Yeah.
She's extra strong, and she did make it look easier than I realized it actually was.
Was. Yeah.
But I am her daughter, and when the time came for me to rise up, I rose up, and so I know that my children will rise as well.
Mm-hmm.
They don't
Yeah.
have a choice.
Yeah. But you know what? She was resourceful, and so are you. And then you're teaching your kids the same thing. I teach my kids that there's 26 letters in the alphabet, and each letter represents an option. Don't call me until you get to 27 because you have 26.
All right.
Don't stop at A. You may have to get to G before you figure it out, but you have 26 options to whatever thing, anything you're going through. Don't call me until you get after Z. And I promise you, they figure it out all the time because I've taught them you got to be resourceful.
That's right.
That is a skill that some kids today they don't have, Jennifer. But
No,
that's
that,
a lesson that you're teaching your kids, to do that, and then you're following in your mother's footsteps to understand how important it is to be resourceful.
that's true. That's a
You
good
know,
point.
you
Amen
said
to that.
you said in the book, the times have evolved, but the message is still the same.
Amen.
Message is still the same.
Yes.
Let's talk about one more.
Okay.
Let's see. Cause I'm glad you mentioned that poke salad because I was like, why in the oh, let's talk about this because me and you talked about this before the show aired. Um, we were laughing because both of our kids went through the same thing, and I'm going to tell everybody what page is on before we start. We're going to talk about page 28. We talked about those essays.
Yes.
So it says she worked on those essays during the summer of her senior year and hated it. And the consultant who pushed her to write and rewrite, yes, I invested in an educational consultant to assist her with writing her essays. Let's talk about
Yes.
sometimes the kids can't get it, they cannot really get it from us.
Yes.
So, we have to reach out for help to help
Yes.
our kids. So let's talk a little bit
Absolutely.
about that.
Well, Miss Page, and that's what she's known on campus as Paige,
Mhm.
she was the last of four, and we were exhausted. I was tired by the time it was her turn to go through this process. And I had learned a lot because I had had child number one, two, and three go through the process. And
Mhm.
I'm like, this time she can be mad at him instead of me being the
You.
target. So, because again, it's just like, when you're going through this college process, they're looking for a certain type of essay.
Mm-hmm.
And and I couldn't make it unique. You have to make it your own personal story. You have to challenge. And I can read it and I can say whether it's good or not, but I did not have the skill set to say what you needed to put in it to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted her to be able to get in and get into college and get in with scholarship. And we sought out a educational consultant, and he went in. I mean, he would not let her breathe. I was
Wow.
like, thank God I don't have to do this. And it paid
Mm-hmm.
off. It paid off. The school that she's in right now, she got a full ride there. So, it paid
Wow.
off. It,
Mm-hmm.
it made a difference. And it gave her the confidence to know that she could do something and do it great because, coming behind three other siblings, I think a lot of times she felt like she wasn't as smart or she wasn't as talented or she wasn't as gifted in this area or that area. And she was gifted within her own right.
Right.
It just had to be put on paper, and he helped her to be able to put herself on paper, and she's amazing. And it
Wow.
shined through. And so, it worked, it helped. And I mean, she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do it that summer. And it wasn't that she wasn't opposed to having someone help her with her
Mm-hmm.
essays. It
Mm-hmm.
was the time frame.
Yep.
She wanted summertime to be her
That
time.
time.
You
Yep.
know, she didn't want to have to worry about that. She was about to be a big time senior. So, but I know what senioritis looks like. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I'm not going through this with you. We getting this done. We're
Yep.
submitting it out all on time. I know what the deadlines are, but we're getting those things in before. And it all paid off. It all paid off. And when her friends were still struggling, still trying to figure it out, she was chilling because she was finished.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
And you know what? Again, that goes back to you being resourceful. You reached out and got help. Like you said, you did it with the first three. You were like, nope, I'm not doing the last one. Let me
Yeah.
get some help. To
Yes.
all the parents that are out there and you have rising seniors, that means you're junior, rising senior, or you currently have a senior.
Mm.
The writing of those essays is crucial. We're laughing because I was sharing with her that I went through. Now I didn't get the help with writing the papers. My
Okay.
way was I threatened her. It's gonna be. I took the phone and I'm cutting you off from the Facebook. I'm cutting you off. And what she realized, and this is what I was told, and I want to make sure I get this on air,
Okay.
that if they write at least, and there's a process to this, and anybody want to know the process, just reach out to me. But if they can get at least 8 to 10 basic essays written, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then whenever they have to write an essay, they can pull information from those 8 essays and compile and make a ninth essay, right? For whatever the topic is. But the
Mm-hmm.
key is to get them to sit down to start writing at least one.
Yes.
And what happened with my child was that by the time she got to essay number 4, it clicked
Okay.
and she wrote the rest of them. I mean, you know why? Because it was copy and paste. If you start writing the essays, because there's basic topics, but if you
Mm-hmm.
start writing the essays, it clicked that, wait a minute. If this is a new topic, I can take from essay 1, 2, 3, and 4, copy, paste, boom. Now
And
she's
it's
in
done.
college and she's been submitting for that same process we went through. She's
That's
been
good.
submitting for scholarships. She was telling me that she got
That's
it. I didn't even
okay.
know.
And that's what you want right there. That's what you want right there.
That's what you want right there. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that's the key to everything. And I hope they do away with all the standardized testing because, yeah, yeah. I saw your face,
Yes.
but yeah,
Yes.
you
And
know,
they should have enough data now that, we've been in COVID for so long. So
yeah,
they should be able to pull some data together to see how successful students are without that. Yes.
yeah. But the point we're both trying to make is that Jennifer has had, just like all of us. The only difference between Jennifer and some of us, she put it in a book and we still have it up here. So we're
Yes.
hoping that tonight's interview encourages you, that everyone that is viewing this show, you have a story to tell.
Amen.
And just like Jennifer, just take the time out to put it on paper. Reach out and get some resources to help you,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
and put it from on paper out of your mind and into a book to share with the world. Because
Yes.
these stories in here, Jennifer, I mean, I can see myself some of the stories. Me and you were laughing before we aired. I can see myself in some of this, and I was like, it just makes me feel good that somebody else went through some of the things that I went through, and then I'm thinking, well, I wish I would have handled it like this. Maybe it didn't.
That's right. That's right. I was saying the same thing. I wish I had handled it like that too. A different way. Yes.
But and we purposely didn't share everything in this book because we want you to buy the book. We
Yes.
want you to buy the book. It is scrolling at the bottom of the screen that you can purchase her book at Amazon. But
Yes.
Jennifer also said during the show that she is welcoming speaking engagements, book signings. Um, if you have an opportunity where she can come and share the book with parents,
Mhm.
just let her know. And her information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Jennifer, before we go, is there anything else you want to any last words you want to say to the audience? I hope everybody is really enjoying tonight. You have a lot of viewers on tonight's show, and I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel and press the notification bell so that you can be alerted when new content comes available. But Jennifer, before we
Yes.
end, is there any last words that you want to say to our viewing audience?
I just want to thank everyone who have supported me thus far. And I'm just super excited. I want to have multiple opportunities where we have fireside chats and we can discuss, because I think that's where we get our strength from sharing with each other, because we're way more similar than we are different.
Yeah.
And we could help each other so much if we just share and be honest and open, and come to the table with no judgment, but just ready to discuss.
Jennifer's book is called Journaling the Journey. And Jennifer, we thank you so much for being tonight's guest. Now, what we're going to do is after tonight's show, Jennifer is going to review all of the comments and she's going to pick two people to be winners. We have two books to give away. And once she picks the winners, I will be reaching out to you. Me, Tina, will be reaching out to you to let you know that you won. Give us until in the morning, and then I'll get your information and send you the book. But we want you to share. Please share this interview and share the information that she gave you tonight. This is a wonderful book. It's an easy read. I think a lot of you will see yourself, male and female. You'll be able to see yourself. You'll be able to relate to the stories that she had in the book. And Jennifer, I just want to thank you for being on tonight's show and just wish you so much success
Thank
with
you.
with this book and with every endeavor that you put your hands to. I really do.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now you hold on.
Okay.
Everyone, we thank you for tuning in to tonight's show. We will see you next Wednesday, same time, same place. Good night, everybody. Stay on, Jennifer.
Okay.